Welcome. This is Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Aaron James. This is all your latest Rangers news. Obviously, it's the boring international week, guys. No real football now until the 19th, is it? I think, which is a bit of a shame. But look, there's still plenty to talk about, plenty to discuss. I think the question I'm asking realistically in this video is, does Clement need more time? And I think there's two sides to this argument. Yeah, absolutely two sides to this argument. Barry Ferguson, former Rangers captain, has been speaking about Clement and speaking about what he thinks. Derek Ferguson's given opinions as well. I think everyone has given opinions on this team. You know, I mean, realistically, you don't get time in football anymore. I think we all, we all see now that in football, there is no such thing as time, is there? Let's face it, fans are demanding, owners are demanding, everyone's demanding of success. And, a big club, like Rangers is, it has to deliver success pretty much immediately. That's just the way things are. You look around the world, you look at the big clubs around the world, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, the Bayern Munichs, the Liverpool's, Arsenal's, Manchester United's, Manchester City's in the Premier League, the AC Milans and Inter Milans of this world. And, they have to deliver success. And if they don't deliver success, then they're gone. They're gone, the next day. I mean, you've even seen situations where, for example, teams have won Champions League trophies. And then because they haven't won their domestic league, the manager's been sacked within the week. I think it was Real Madrid who won the Champions League and then ended up sacking their manager because they finished second to Barcelona in the league. This is the harsh nature of modern football, isn't it? The days of managers being given years and years to perfect it. The days of, going back, I think the most famous example, of course, is Sir Alex Ferguson, who at Manchester United was, given obviously a great amount of time to perfect and to obviously to get that Manchester United team where he wanted it. To then go on and probably be one of the most successful managers in world football history. I think he's still got a way to go to catch up, with the likes of Bob Paisley and Shankly and, Guardiola and Ancelotti and people like that. So, he's nowhere near them. But, certainly he was given the time to get there, wasn't he? Now, what has Barry Ferguson been saying? We'll talk about what Barry's got to say, and then I'll kind of give you my opinion on where things are at the moment and what situation is at the club. So Barry Ferguson, speaking on Go Radio, said, he talked about obviously the performance on Sunday night. He says, in terms of last night, he was talking obviously on Monday as reference to the Sunday night game. He says, in terms of last night, I was at the game and I'm sure you listened to Philippe Clement after it, and it wasn't a brilliant performance. I think with the amount of signings he has made, we are in the first week of October. I think you need to give it to Christmas time. You do need to allow players to settle in. I totally get you don't get time in the west of Scotland. Could they be better? Yeah, 100%. The manager has admitted that, but we will just need to wait and see what the coming months bring. The positives that I look at from last night is another clean sheet. Domestically, it could have been a lot better. Good to see Yanis back, although obviously he got sent off, which is not ideal. Overall, I'm not going to sit here and say everything is rosy in the garden, but Rangers could be a lot better. They have to win. I know Derek has said that he doesn't fancy them to win anything this season, but I totally get that. But Rangers have to win trophies this season. I think there's a few interesting points to pick out of what Barry said there. I think he's right. It wasn't a brilliant performance. It was 3 points. It was a win, and that's the positive. But the last two league games, which have both been home games back at Ibrox, it has just been the only positive. Really has been. It's 3 points. It's a win, and we move on. The actual caliber of the performance, the style of the performance, the shape of the performance, the formation, the tactics have been very, very poor. And that's one major issue with Philippe Clement. I think fans are identifying and looking at, and it's the same kind of thing that's getting thrown at Erik ten Hag at Manchester United. It's the same thing that gets thrown at quite a few managers. Where's the style? Where's the shape? What's the formation? What are we actually doing? What is the style of play here? And I think what doesn't help matters is, you look around Europe and you look at some of the other managers who've just literally just come into their jobs. If you take, the wider look at things, you look at Arne Slot at Liverpool, who's come in. Yes, he's inherited a very talented squad there, but, straight away he has changed things from the gegenpress of of Jurgen Klopp, and he's gone to his own style, and they have a very much more defined style now. You know, a slower build-up play, more possession-based team. But he's already managed to get that in place, and Liverpool are seeing the fruits of that by being top of their league. And even to some extent in Scotland, you know, with Aberdeen, you know, Jimmy Thielen's coming to Aberdeen. They've got a style of play. Yes, they may not be playing brilliant football, but they're still winning games, and they're unbeaten this season. So, you know, you can't really argue against his style. So I think the frustration is that Clement's been here a lot longer than, say, Schlott has at Liverpool or Thielen at Aberdeen, and we're not really seeing a style, a shape to play. And that is one of the huge criticisms that's levelled at him. Clement said as well, of course, that, you know, we'll see the best of Rangers in October and November. Well, we've reached October now, and I think we can quite categorically say, you know, the last couple of performances have been probably two of the worst. Yes, the Malmo game was very good, and they did play well against Malmo, but it was a very poor Malmo team. But the performances against Hibs and against St Johnstone were poor. Weren't great at all. So are we really seeing the best of them? That's the question. And, you know, Clement obviously has got the rest of this month to try and, you know, make sure that going forward that we do start to see this promise, this whole quote that, you know, you'll see the best of Rangers in October and November. Now, obviously, the first game we've got after the international break is on the 20th. We face Kilmarnock away. Then it's Steaua Bucharest at home in the Europa League on the 24th. Then we go on the Sunday to the league game against St Mirren at Ibrox. And at the end of October, a massive game at Pittodrie. You know, if Aberdeen are still unbeaten, I doubt it because they've got Celtic to play on the 19th. But, you know, a huge game. And Celtic so Aberdeen will fancy their chances of turning Rangers over in that game, given their form. So, you know, there's four massive games coming up through the month of October. And, you know, against Killie, St Mirren and Aberdeen, and to some extent Steaua, we need to see a more defined style. And are we actually going to see a fluid attacking brand of football? Are we actually going to see a team that goes out there and plays? And that's a question that Clement's going to need to answer. You know, there are no more excuses. There are no more places to hide for Clement now, because he said himself at the start of the season, you know, you'll have to wait till October, November time to see the best of Rangers, which we all thought was a bit of a stupid comment anyway, because you've had the whole of pre-season. Surely you should be ready to hit the ground running from August. You know, I think people talk about players settling in and new signings settling in, and to some extent, yeah, I can see that some players do take slightly longer than others to settle in. But, you know, by that same token, you look around Europe again and you look at some of the new signings that have been made by other top clubs, and they seem to be able to hit the ground running straight away at those clubs. You know, you look at, you know, Celtic, obviously, have got Engels. He seems to be doing very well. I mean, I don't really know 100% a lot about him because I don't watch their games, but from what I'm hearing, he's doing very well indeed. You know, you look at south of the border, you see signings that's been made down there, you know, in terms of players that they've brought in. And again, you're seeing players hit the ground running, play well and do well. So, you know, overall, you kind of question this whole, it takes time, you know, and it's going to take months for them to settle in. I think, you know, this stuff that Clement keeps trotting out, that it could take 6 months for some players to settle in, is utter rubbish. You know, like I said, you look around Europe and look at other big clubs around Europe, and you don't see that. You don't see evidence of that at all. So you kind of wonder what we're doing wrong as a club if that's the case. You know, in terms of what Barry says, you know, give it till Christmas time. I think, you know, realistically, there is literally no point sacking the manager now. You know, what changes can be made? You know, realistically, you get rid of a manager now and you replace him with someone new now in October, November time. Well, nothing can change till January anyway. So there is little point. You know, I think, yes, you could argue, well, you could end up a whole host of points behind Celtic anyway. But I think a lot of us kind of look at it, and if you look at it dispassionately for a minute, if you take the blue tinted goggles off, realistically, I don't think we've got a hope in hell of winning the league this season. I genuinely think Celtic will walk the league title this season, unfortunately. I genuinely can see them finishing double-digit points ahead of us this season, which, if that's the case and Clement is still here at the end of the season and they win the league by 10 points or more, then he's got to be sacked. He has to be sacked. There is no debate on that at all. You know, you cannot argue for him if you know, he's obviously signed a lot of players. You know, he's had a year, 18 months in charge. And you know, and if you look at past history, you know, Ange Postecoglou came into Celtic, he turned them around relatively quickly. You know, if Clement is double-digit points behind, which is worse than last season, behind Celtic at the end of the season, then he has to go. He's got to be sacked. There is no second chance for him. There really genuinely isn't. I think, give it up until Christmas. Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, if you're looking at it, the next Old Firm game will be absolutely critical. I think if Celtic come to Ibrox and win again, then that's another case of another decision that has to be taken. I mean, personally speaking, I've backed the manager to this point. I've said that, you got to give him the time to get this right. And, there's no point sacking a manager, and so on and so forth. However, I do think if he was to lose to Celtic in January, if we were to go down to Celtic in January, then he's got to go, because his Old Firm record is appalling. He hasn't won a single game against them. I mean, even Michael Beale won a game against Celtic, for goodness sake. And Michael Beale was an awful manager. And that old adage, isn't it? Rangers managers don't last very long if they don't beat Celtic. And that's true. Now, people say, well, you can't keep swapping the manager. We can't keep swapping the manager. We can't keep sacking the manager. Well, you can if it's not working. And the other thing, I think, as a model, we need to get away from this belief that, it's all down to the manager, who the manager wants. And if you are getting a situation where, the manager goes, then we have to get a whole new set of players in. I don't think that's at all the way it goes. Now, if you look around Europe, and you look at how they do business, you look at the big clubs down south as well. You look at Manchester City, you look at Arsenal, you look at Liverpool, the big three that down there at the moment that are dominating English football. Then, it's not the manager who signs the players. The manager doesn't scout the players either. That's not his job. The sporting director signs the player. That's their job. The sporting directors, they scout the players, they sign the players. Now, the manager does, of course, have a say on the players. He can, of course, veto players or say no to players, and that's fine. But the new system is very much that the manager works with what he's given, and that managers are employed to fit the type of football that the club wants to play by the players that have been brought in. Now, Arteta had a say in who Arsenal signed, but if you look at who signs the players at Arsenal, who goes and scouts the players, who brings the players in, at the end of the day, it's Edu, their sporting director. It's not Mikel Arteta. Arteta does have a say, but he has not got the overall say. It is not down to him who comes in. Okay, it's down to Edu. If you look at Liverpool, it's Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards who bring in the players. It's not Arne Slot. It's Hughes and Edwards who will identify players. They will say to the manager, "What do you think?" If he says no, then fair enough, they move on. But if there's players that they bring the players in, Slot works with the players. That's the way it works. Guardiola has some say, but at the end of the day, it's not down to Guardiola solely and who comes in. I can't remember the sporting director. It's not Bagheera Stein anymore, but whoever it is now, identifies the players, they bring them in. Guardiola works with them, and Guardiola's used to that. That was the model that was used at Barcelona. That's the model that's used at Bayern Munich. So I think we've got a very parochial, Englishy, Scottishy, British attitude to how things work. Gone are the days of Sir Walter and Graham scouting players, talking to the players, negotiating the contracts, and signing the players. It doesn't work like that anymore. That's not how it works. So, for those of you out there that are saying we can't sack another manager because it will mean another rebuild, because these players will not be the players that he wants, that's not how this system is supposed to work anymore now. The way the system is supposed to work, and we are missing a director of football, sport director. We've got a director of recruitment in Niels Coppen. We've got a football board with likes of Craig Roberts on it, and the CEO, whoever that's going to be, who we still haven't appointed. That's another video. But it's not the way it works anymore. It's not down to Philippe Clement to go out and scout and find players. It's Niels Coppen whose job to go and get the players, and Clement's job is to work with them, to coach them, to pick the team, and to get a winning team on the park on Saturday. And then you look at the press conferences that are given by the likes of Arteta and the likes of Slot and the likes of Klopp last year, and the likes of Guardiola, these top managers, and Ancelotti as well to some extent at Madrid. And they're asked about contracts or players, and that's not my job. My job is to coach the team. My job is to pick the team. That's what I do, and that's what they do. And I think we've got a very parochial attitude in Britain and Scotland and England to this old system that just because you sack a manager, you've got to change all the players. Well, that's not how it works anymore. You know, the managers are brought in to fit in with the playing squads. You know, the managers have to work with what they've got. It's not a case of, right, Mr. Clement, Mr. McInnes, Mr. Tuchel, Mr. whoever, who do you want? Give me a list and we'll sign those players for you. That's not how it works anymore. You know, that is not the system that is in play anymore. So I think, you know, if it does come to a stage where we get to Christmas and Clement is struggling still and the team is still not playing with any sort of style or shape and we lose to Celtic, then he has to be sacked. And if he's sacked, we bring in someone else. And you know, you look at clubs, like I said, you look at clubs down south of the border. That's the model they use. They don't use this model, this old model of the manager signs the players, the manager finds the players, the manager tells you which players he wants. That's gone now. That's dead. I mean, we saw the fallacy of that when Michael Beale was the manager. You know, allowing Beale to have pretty much, you know, carte blanche to go and get who he wanted. You know, we've ended up with players that are just absolutely useless, absolutely hopeless. Cyril Dessers, for example, Sam Lammers, who has moved on. You know, we've ended up with players that are just not fit for purpose, down to Michael Beale's poor scouting, poor negotiation and poor recruitment. Also contracts that are ridiculous, you know, which I think a lot of that can be put at Beale's door. So I think Clement does need time to answer the question. You know, we get to Christmas and I think at Christmas we take a decision. And like I said, if we lose that next Old Firm game in January, he's got to go. There cannot be any argument. If he loses the next Old Firm, he has to be sacked. It's not even a debate. And I think the one thing that worries me, and like I said, you know, as someone who's supported Clement, is you listen to Monaco fans talk about him and they talk about stubborn, lack of formation, lack of shape, lack of direction. Football's not good. And you're kind of seeing a repeat of that. Now, is he kind of the management Sam Lammers in a way? Because Sam Lammers does well in the Eredivisie, but take him out of the Eredivisie and he's awful. Clement does well in the Belgian league, but he goes to France, is a disaster. He's now in Scotland. He's not doing a very good job. You know, do you think, is he one of these people who can't manage outside of his own country? Which happens, doesn't it? You know, it happens to English managers. It happens to Scottish managers. So, look, is that the situation we're facing? I'll be honest with you. There is a hell of a lot of questions that need to be answered between now and the next Old Firm. You know, number one question is, what is our style of play? Number two is, when are we going to see our style of play? Number three is, why can't we play players in their best positions? Why do we have to play players out of position constantly? You know, and when are we going to see the actually in picking the strongest lineup that he has and not having to pander to certain players? There's a lot of questions, and Clement is not doing himself any favors at times when he comes out with some of the stuff that he comes out with. He could almost do with someone sitting next to him and going, right, before you speak, write down what you're going to say, and I'll tell you whether you can say it or not. He writes it down. We had the same number of chances as them, so we're as good as them. No, you can't say that. No, you just can't say that. No, that's stupid. Don't say that. You're going to make yourself look a right tit. Don't say it. So, guys, I'd love to know your thoughts, your opinions. Like I said, my opinion is that, you know, we give it like Barry. You know, yes, the football has been poor. Yes, the style isn't there. Yes, there is no style or shape to our football. You know, if someone said to me now, you know, describe Rangers' style of play, what is it? Don't know. I haven't got a clue. We haven't got one at this moment in time. Okay, that's the truth. You know, whereas you look at top teams around Europe and you can describe their style of play. You know, it is quite obvious, isn't it? Right, guys, let me know your thoughts, your views in the comments. Obviously, please smash the sub, ring the bell, drop the like, drop a comment on the video, all that good stuff that helps out. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. And as always, please remember, we are the people.